I've worked search and rescue in the Zion backcountry for 12 years. They call it a park, but it's a million-year-old graveyard. I know its silence, its heat, and its tendency to swallow people whole. But nothing, not the flash floods nor the mountain lion attacks, ever felt as deliberately wrong as the disappearance of Ben Carter. Ben was one of those hyper-organized solo hikers, every knot secured, every meal portioned. When he missed his scheduled satellite check-in late October 2018, we didn't panic immediately. But when we found his designated campsite 2 days later, that changed everything. The camp was immaculate. Tent was set up, cooking kit put away, and his food cache was secured. His primary backpack was zipped shut and leaning against a tree. The only things missing were his lightweight windbreaker, his empty water bottle, and him. No signs of struggle, no overturned gear, just a perfect, unsettling vacancy. Ben's last active GPS ping led me up to an unnamed high-altitude plateau, a patch of flat, dangerous rock known locally as the Watcher's Shelf. I had to hike alone for the final push, scrambling up a near-vertical shale slide. The air up there was thin and bitter, and it felt like I was climbing out of the world. When I reached the shelf, I didn't see Ben, but I saw the cairns. There were hundreds of them, scattered haphazardly across the slick, dark rock. But they weren't the sloppy, functional stacks hikers usually leave. These were sculptures. The stones were meticulously placed, fitted together like puzzle pieces, and they were all freshly washed. They shone with a kind of dull, unsettling polish, and the air here, above 8,000 feet, carried the faint, sharp smell of wet stone and ozone, even though the sky was bone dry. I radioed HQ, trying to keep the strain out of my voice as I confirmed the coordinates and the discovery. The sheer number of them was horrifying. I counted 67 within my immediate field of view, and they stretched back towards the ridge like a silent rocky crowd. As I moved deeper into the unnatural garden, a pattern became clear, and my blood ran cold. On the very top of every single cairn, even the small ones no taller than my ankle, sat one smooth gray river rock, a stone that should have been tumbled into the riverbed miles below, not sitting on an isolated high desert shelf. It was a signature, a deliberate, meticulous signature left by something with an endless amount of time. I finally found the tallest stack, a leaning tower of flat slate reaching up to my shoulder. At its base, laid out like a shrine, were Ben's few missing items, his blue windbreaker neatly folded, and his empty water bottle. I crouched, checking for any trace of evidence, and I found nothing. That's when the sound started. It wasn't a wind gust or an animal. It was a low, heavy, rhythmic sound coming from the black mouth of the canyon below us. Thump, thump, thump. It wasn't fast, and it didn't echo. It was muffled, purposeful, and incredibly strong. It was the sound of something massive moving slowly over Earth. I scrambled to my feet, spinning around, desperate to locate the source. But the canyon was a black maw. I gripped my flashlight, then forced myself to look back at the cairn. Near Ben's folded jacket, the dust on the rock surface was disturbed. Not a footprint, but a single perfect circle of pressed dust, the size and shape of one of the smooth river rocks. I looked up. The river rock crowning that tallest stack looked different from the others. It was damp, not dew-covered, but truly, wetly glistening, as if it had just been pulled from a freezing stream. And then the heavy, rhythmic sound from the canyon stopped, and there was silence. The terror wasn't in the fear of being seen. It was in the certainty that whatever was making that sound had just found what it was looking for. I didn't wait. I grabbed Ben's gear, and I left the cairns to their silent vigil, and ran, sliding down the shale until I was safely below the tree line. Ben Carter was never seen again. We scoured the area. We found no tracks leading to or from the cairns, but every night since I hear that phantom, rhythmic thump in the quiet moments before I fall asleep, and I know that Ben's disappearance wasn't a death. It was a ritual completion, marked by one final whetstone placed on a pile that only the mountain knows how to build. The Park Service cleaned up the Watcher's Shelf years ago. The stone stacks are gone, but the fear remains because no one ever solved the mystery of the high-altitude cairns or what was making that rhythmic thumping in the canyon below. The next time you find yourself alone on a trail, deep in a silent forest, look down. If you see a rock pile that doesn't look quite right, and is too perfect and too deliberate, with a rock that just doesn't belong, know that you might be looking at the beginning of someone else's unfinished story. Do you have a story from the national parks that still haunt you? Share it in the comments, and if you dare to hear the next chapter of The Unknown, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notifications, and I'll see you tomorrow when we look into another story where the trail disappears.